no quest marker, no waypoint, no voice telling you where to go, just a world, and the unspoken question, what do you do now? That question has defined the Elder Scrolls for over 30 years, not because each game answered it the same way, but because each game answered it differently. And in doing so, Bethesda didn't just build games, they built places. So, how did the Dungeon Crawler from 1994 become one of the most influential RPG franchises ever made? The Elder Scrolls didn't begin as an open world. In 1994, Bethesda released The Elder Scrolls Arena. It was a first-person dungeon crawler, procedurally generated, built for DOS. Arena introduced the continent of Tamriel as a setting, but the game itself was structured around dungeon combat. Players moved through generated corridors, fought enemies in real time, and navigated a world that was massive in scale, but thin in detail. The map contained the entire continent, over 400 towns, hundreds of dungeons, but almost none of it was handcrafted. For 1994, that scale was remarkable. Players had never been handed something that felt that large. Even if the content was repetitive, the sense of world space was new. 2 years later, Bethesda went bigger. Daggerfall, released in 1996, generated a world roughly the size of Great Britain. Over 15,000 locations, hundreds of thousands of NPCs, procedural on an almost incomprehensible scale. But scale alone wasn't the answer. Bethesda had built the largest world in gaming, and realized that size without soul wasn't enough. After Daggerfall, Bethesda made the decision to change the franchise permanently. They traded scale for density. The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind launched in May 2002. The map was dramatically smaller than Daggerfall, but every inch was hand-designed. The island of Varentfell, ash storms, giant mushroom towers, alien architecture. A world that looked like nothing else in gaming at the time. Morrowind built its systems around player agency without hand-holding. No quest markers. Directions were given in written text. Travel north along the road, turn left at a large rock. Skill-based progression. Every action trained a corresponding skill. Running leveled athletics. Blocking leveled block. The character grew through doing. Dialogue was entirely text-based, thousands of lines, indexed by topic, delivered through NPC conversation menus. The journal tracked everything, but organized nothing. Players had to read, interpret, and decide. Combat was dice roll based at launch. Swinging a sword didn't guarantee a hit. Your skill level determined the probability. Miss animations played, even when the blade visibly connected. For players willing to engage with those systems, Morrowind was unlike anything that existed. You didn't follow a game, you inhabited a place. The strangeness of Varentfell wasn't a barrier, it was the point. This was a world with its own logic, its own factions, its own history, and it expected you to learn it. Morrowind sold over 4 million copies by 2005. It won multiple Game of the Year awards in 2002. But Bethesda saw something in the data and in the feedback. Players loved the world, but many bounced off the systems. The next game would keep the world and rebuild the door. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion launched in March 2006, alongside the Xbox 360, into a market hungry for next-generation worlds. Oblivion was built on a simpler premise than Morrowind. Come in, stay a while, we'll explain. The imperial province of Cyrodiil was lush, green and immediately legible. Rolling hills, medieval towns, a capital city with a visible white tower on the horizon. No alien landscape, no text-heavy tutorials. Bethesda overhauled almost every system. Quest markers replaced written directions entirely. Combat became fully real-time. No dice rolls, direct hit detection. Voice acting covered every NPC, over 50,000 lines recorded. The Radiant AI system gave NPCs daily schedules, sleeping, eating, moving between locations independently. Leveled loot and enemy scaling adjusted the world dynamically to the player's level. The game also launched with what became one of the most discussed DLC releases in history. The Horse Armor Pack in 2006, $2.50 for cosmetic horse armor. At the time it was mocked wildly. In hindsight, it marked the beginning of paid cosmetic DLC as an industrial model. Oblivion reached players Morrowind never could. Accessible systems, immediate hooks, a world that felt alive in a way 2006 audiences recognized. It sold over 3 million copies in its first year. By the end of its commercial life, over 9 million copies worldwide. But something else happened with Oblivion. The handcrafted density of Morrowind, the strangeness, the friction, some of that was smoothed away. Gyrodil was beautiful. It was also safer. Bethesda had found a much larger audience. Now the question was, what do you build for them? November 11, 2011. The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. Bethesda didn't just release a game, they released a cultural moment. Skyrim launched simultaneously on PS3, Xbox 360 and PC. First day sales exceeded 3.5 million copies. Within 48 hours, over $550 million in revenue. By 2016, over 30 million copies sold. Skyrim refined the Oblivion template and pushed every system further. The class system was removed entirely. No character class selection at creation. Skills levered through use, and perks were chosen from a constellation-based skill tree at each level up. Dragon Shouts added a power layer tied to exploration. Players found worlds of power hidden across the world, each requiring a unique location to unlock. Radiant quests generated repeatable content dynamically. Guild jobs, bounties and Radiant tasks populated the world continuously. The creation engine allowed fully open interiors. No load screens entering buildings in towns. Dual wielding was introduced. Spells and weapons could be mixed in each hand independently. The main quest involved dragons returning to Tamriel, and the player as Dragonborn, a mortal with the soul of a dragon. But the story was rarely why people stayed. People stayed because of Bree's home in Whiterun, because of a flower named Lydia carrying their burdens, because of a cave they found by accident at level 4. Skyrim gave players enough structure to feel purposeful, and enough emptiness to fill with their own decisions. That balance had never been struck so precisely in an open world RPG before. The modding community expanded what Bethesda shipped. The Creation Kit was released in February 2012. Within months, thousands of mods, new quests, new worlds, graphical overhauls, entire new systems. Skyrim didn't have a concept ceiling. It had an audience that kept building it. Bethesda re-released Skyrim on every major platform through 2016, 2017 and beyond. Special Edition, Anniversary Edition, VR, Nintendo Switch. The joke that Skyrim would be ported to everything became industry shorthand, and it wasn't entirely wrong. After Skyrim, Bethesda Game Studios didn't release another mainline Elder Scrolls title for over a decade, but they weren't silent. In 2014, the Elder Scrolls Online launched under a separate team, ZeniMax Online Studios. It found its audience slowly, dropping its subscription model in 2015 and growing through consistent expansions to over 21 million registered accounts by 2022. It lived in the Elder Scrolls universe, but it wasn't what fans were waiting for. Bethesda Game Studios kept building in the meantime, across multiple IPs and platforms. Fallout 4 in 2015 sold over 12 million copies in its first week. Fallout 76 in 2018 launched to significant criticism. Bugs, missing features, a troubled microtransaction model, and it spent years being rebuilt into something stable. Starfield in 2023 drew mixed reactions despite strong sales, with many criticizing its procedurally generated plans for feeling empty. And then, in 2025, the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, built with Virtuos on Unreal Engine 5, announced and released on the same day, it became one of the most discussed releases of the year. reintroducing Cyrodiil to an entirely new generation. Elder Scrolls 6 was teased at E3 2018. 15 seconds, a landscape, a logo. As of 2026, no release window, still in development. The gap between Skyrim and whatever comes next will be 15 years minimum. In that time, the genre Bethesda helped define kept growing. The Witcher 3, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3. Each one pushed open world RPGs further. Each one raised the bar that Elder Scrolls 6 will be measured against. The Oblivion remaster showed Bethesda understands what this franchise meant to people. The question now is whether Elder Scrolls 6 can answer 15 years of expectation in a genre that spent that entire time learning from everything Skyrim built. From a procedurally generated dungeon in 1994 to 30 million people standing at the foot of a mountain in 2011. The Elder Scrolls has never been about the same thing twice. Arena built scale, Morrowind built identity, Oblivion built access, Skyrim built a moment. Each game asked the same question in a different way. What do you do when the world is yours? And each time enough people answered to keep the world worth building. The next one hasn't come yet, but when it does, it won't just be a game people play. It will be a place people move into. That's what this franchise has always been. New case files release every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.